the importance of our earthly lives. We don't just live for heaven. God has got all sorts of meaningful things for us to do right here, today, on this earth. And it's very clear from our reading. Matthew chapter 25, this is on page 5 of your worship folder. Again, the kingdom of God will be like a man going on a journey who called his servants and entrusted his property to them. One he gave 5 talents of money, to another 2 talents, and to another 1 talent, each according to his ability. Then he went on his journey. The man who had received the 5 talents went at once and put his money to work and gained 5 more. So also the one with the 2 talents gained 2 more. The one who had received the 1 talent went off, dug a hole in the ground, and hid his master's money. After a long time, the master of those servants returned and settled accounts with them. The man who had received the 5 talents brought the other 5. Master, he said, you entrusted me with 5 talents. See, I've gained 5 more. His master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You've been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share in your master's happiness. The man with the 2 talents also came. Master, he said, you entrusted me with 2 talents. See, I've gained 2 more. His master replied, well done, good and faithful servant. You've been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. Then the man who had received the 1 talent came. Master, he said, I knew that you are a hard man, harvesting where you've not sown, and gathering where you've not scattered seed. So I was afraid and went out and hid your talent in the ground. See, here's what it belongs to you. His master replied, you wicked, lazy servant. So you knew that I harvest where I've not sown and gather where I've not scattered seed. Well, then you should have put my money on deposit with the bankers so that when I returned, I would have received it back with interest. Take the talent from him and give it to the one who has the 10 talents. For everyone who has will be given more, and he will have an abundance. Whoever does not have even what he has will be taken from him. And throw that worthless servant outside into the darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. And is your life important? Is it important what you do every day according to this story? Absolutely. What does he do with the guy that wasted his time? He takes away his money. He says, if you're not going to use it, I'm going to give it to somebody who does. And that's exactly what he says to each one of us. He gives us every single day to be a part of something meaningful in his plan for this world. You know, it doesn't matter how much time you've got. It's how you use your time. It doesn't matter how many abilities, how much talent, how much charisma, how much power you have. It's how you use those things that God has given you. And that's what we want to talk about today. We want to talk about living out your bucket list. Instead of waiting for the end to come and then say, and then what a good example Jeff gave us, you know that physical fitness test is coming. You know that death is coming. You know that Judgment Day is coming. It's just a matter of time. Why put it on? But what I want to say to you today is I sure hope that this doesn't come off as, an obligation. Yeah, you gotta live a Christian life because, you don't want to get sapped when you die or when Jesus comes again. The best life is the Christian life. You want to be happy. You want to be happy in a long-term sense, in a solid sense. You live as if you have 1 day left, or 1 year. We're going to look at the perspective. We're going to talk about living with perspective. A long perspective, a long view of life, and a short view of life, and how they both go together in your relationship with Christ. We're going to talk about living according to God's purpose for you and for me. And then finally, we're going to talk about living the full life, because that's what Jesus offers. He doesn't say, well, I'm going to make you miserable until you die, and then I'm going to give you a good life. He says, I have brought you the full life right now. So let's begin by talking about perspective. The two faithful servants did not know exactly how long the master was going to be away. It just says in the Bible that he was away a very long time. Maybe he was away for a year, 6 months, but it was longer than 3 days. It was longer than a week. Now, what do the guys do? It would have been very easy to have said, "Whoa, the guy's gone. The boss is gone. So let's just take it easy for a little while. Let's kick back. Let's enjoy ourselves. And then after a few weeks, when we get that all out of us, then we'll start working." But that's not what those guys do. Why? Because they've got a long view. They know what their employment is all about. Their employment is not about getting out of as much work as they can. Their employment is about doing the best that they can for their master. So what do? They start working. They say, he's coming back. We know that. We may not know exactly when he's coming back, but he is coming back. And our purpose is to take this money that he's given us to develop a business and make more money for him. And that's exactly what they did. Now the application of the parable is pretty simple, isn't it? We're the servants. Jesus is the master. He gives us our life. He gives us our time. He gives us our talents. He gives us our physical wealth and physical health. And he says, now use it. Use it to his glory. And here's where the tough part comes in, right? Because what does one side of us say? One side of us says, well, yeah, but I got different plans. And this is where the crux comes in. Learning how to live according to God's plan for our lives. You ever go canoeing with somebody who doesn't know how to canoe? You got to have two people in the canoe. My dad and I went canoeing in a river that was not much larger than the distance between this wall and that wall. Neither of us had ever canoed before. And it was terrible. He actually hit me with the paddle. Can you believe that? That's why I am the way I am today. But it was terrible because we go from that bank to that bank to that bank. And if you've ever paddled in a canoe, you know that the guy in back is the most important guy because he's the steerer. But the guy in front is very important because he's got to work with the person who is steering. And if they aren't working together, it's just not going to work. Our purpose in life is to let the Lord be in the back with the back paddle and doing the steering. And if you've ever paddled with an experienced canoeer, it's just a wonderful thing. You just cut through that water and the canoe glides and boom, straight as an arrow. Well, what do we do in life? We say, well, God, we got different plans. I got a different attitude. I got a different strategy. And we start paddling this way and start paddling that way. We nullify the steering of the Lord. The whole purpose in life, Jesus says, in this life is to understand how God is working in our lives and to paddle with him as he guides us through life. The Lord tells us very clearly that there is going to be a day of accountability. You are going to be accountable for how you spend your life, and I am going to be accountable. That's how important it is. Your life is not something that's going to be thrown away. Everything is going to be reviewed. What does that say about the importance of every single week? And the other thing that we need to remember is that regardless of how long we're going to live, maybe you're going to be Methuselah. Maybe you've got Methuselah genes, and you're going to live for another 900 years. Even if you live for another 9 centuries, your life is going to be a drop in the ocean of eternity. Life is short. The Lord is telling us through this particular passage, use your life to the full now. People are running around asking the question, what's life about? We Christians don't have to have that existential anxiety. The Bible's so clear. It tells us how we got here. It tells us what went